highlighting history of suburban Sydney with the St Peters Cooks River History Group.
Our aim is to preserve and promote local history.
We are based at St Peters in Sydney's inner west.
During the 19th century, children were employed in a number of industries. In the St Peters area, this had particular relevance to brickmaking. In England, the Parliament Act of 1833 excluded children under the age of 10 from working in factories. Lord Shaftesbury's 1847 10 Hours Act eased some of the excessive hardships endured by children in the workplace. This legislation was not applicable in New South Wales. The following letter appeared in the Sydney Morning Herald on December the 6th, 1875.
I am a pugger-up or carrier of clay, employed in a brickyard at St Peters from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night. I carry 50 pounds in my arms out of a pit 15 feet deep, the whole distance travelled per day being 7.5 miles, and the whole weight carried being about 6.5 tons. Why not make the law protect the sons and daughters of brickmakers? For females are employed at this work as well as males. Ask every boy and man too to write his name. For every one able to do so, they would find 6 that could not, and their eyes will behold boys whose constitutions are completely ruined through being overworked at a time when they should have been attending school.
On the 14th of December, Mr. W.H. Sutter moved in Parliament that
a select committee will be appointed to inquire into and report on the employment of persons of a tender age in trades, professions and callings unsuited to their years and calculated to be injurious to their physical and moral development.
At this time, there were about 60 to 80 brickyards at St Peters, predominantly on the Waterloo Flat. Early in 1876, the inquiry into brickyards interviewed local people. Brickmaker James Cook said,
"The ages of the children are from 8 to 14 years. There are some younger, girls as well as boys were employed. The first price that is given to a boy when he can only pug up is from 9 shillings to 10 shillings.
Richard Gill, schoolmaster at St Peter's Certified Church of England School, stated,
I have many instances of children from 6 to 8 years removed from this infant department to go pugging up.
The health of the children was investigated. Cook stated that there were problems.
From the way that they have constantly to lean back when carrying the clay generally causes weakness in the back, also in the knees. The chief complaint is a cough. The moist clay rests against the boy's chest. He has always got what we call an apron against his chest, some of them quite wet to the skin when they are not supplied with a good canvas or leather apron.
George Toya, brickmaker, had other ideas.
Is it healthy? I believe it is. Some time ago I had a little fellow, an orphan with me, and he seemed dwindling away. I had almost to carry him to his work at first, but after a little time he got quite strong and would go dancing up and down the plank.
Education seemed to be the biggest problem of all. Schoolmaster Gill's opinion was,
many illiterates are to be found among the brickmakers of St Peters. I impute it to the early age at which they have to go pugging up. Of course, there are exceptions where the children have been kept at school, but parents who keep their children at school are heavily handicapped in the earnings of their family, as a boy can earn about as many shillings a week as he is years of age, which is very different from paying school fees. The Sunday schools assist some boys with their reading, but for writing or arithmetic, 5-6 of them have scarcely any knowledge at all of these subjects.
The Reverend Mr Baber commenced a night school. He made a rule that none under 14 years of age should be admitted, for fear that some might be removed from school and sent pugging so that they might attend. He soon found he would have to close the school or admit them younger. He reduced the age to 11, and then many said very hard things about him because he would not admit boys of 8 or 9 years old who were working all day in the brickyards. Those who did go to night school was too tired to do much work or were not there to learn. The committee visited the St. Peter's Certified Church of England school. Mr. Gill called upon all who had been employed as puggers to stand up. About 12 arose. These boys were of ages varying from 7 to 12 years.
Charles Strieber, 12 years old, had been employed as a pugger-up and worked all day from morning till night. He could read and write, but was too tired to learn any lessons when he went home at night.
Arthur Edwards, 9 years old, had worked at pugging up for a week and a half. He did not get any wages as he worked for his father. He did not like the work and would rather come to school.
Henri Baurel, 15 years old, worked at pugging up for 4 years. He never received wages as he always worked for his father. The working hours were 10 and there was no rest but for 2 hours at meal times.
Thomas Cook, 14 years of age, received 12 shillings a week for attending the machine, taking the clay from it and putting it on the stool for the brickmaker. He had been at work for about 4 months. At first he worked at pugging up at the top pit. When he was pugging up, he was too tired when he got home to care to read. He went to the St. Peter's Sunday School and could read and write. He read books and wrote in copybooks at home at night. The committee visited brickyards. Mr. George Toya stated,
His pit, at which the boys are now working, is about 10 feet deep. The boys at work are his sons. The 2 at the stool brickmaking are 18 and 14. The boy bringing up the clay is 10. He fetches about 5 bricks at a time. The weight of a wet brick is about 10 pounds. He does not think it hurts boys to do the work, for where will you find a stronger class of men than brickmakers?
In February 1877, the report was presented to Parliament. It found that in the brickyards between 100 and 200 boys were engaged in hard work and employed for 10 hours a day. They have to carry masses of 50 pounds from the pits, 40 feet deep, up an inclined plane of 10 to 14 yards. They carry 6 or 17 tons in the course of a day and traverse a distance of 5 or 6 miles. The children were found to be mostly uneducated, and from the nature of their toil, they were unable to take advantage of the educational institutions around them. The following recommendations were made.
1. That it is desirable to regulate the employment of children. 2. That the age at which children may be employed and their hours of labour ought to be fixed. 3. That it is necessary children should not, by the nature of employment, be debarred from the possibility of mental improvement.
It appears that after the report was presented in 1877, no further action was taken to legislate for changes in the employment of children until Henry Parkes introduced the Public Instruction Act of 1880, which made education free and compulsory for all children between the ages of 6 and 14 years. If you have enjoyed this video, check out our website, stpeterscooksriverhistory.wordpress.com.